Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. And today is Throat Punch Thursday.
Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Who's ready?
It's Throw Punch Thursday, bitch.
I don't know why. I know, and I know I say it every time. I just get so tickled whenever I see that video. It's just, I don't know, nothing like a good throat punch, I guess. It's the, anyway. Anyway, having a good time today. Mike is taking the day off or is working today, so it's just going to be me and you. So encourage you, if you got something to say, go ahead, say it in the comments. If you're watching us live, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, on Facebook, or on Rumble. Let's go ahead and jump right into the news stories because we got some interesting stuff to talk about today. Interestingly enough, um, wow, I just realized for the first time in a long time, there's no real Donald Trump news, specific Donald Trump news that we're talking about here. Well, unless you want to talk about, you know, Donald Trump's Supreme Court, but but no real Donald Trump news today. So it's going to be kind of different. It kind of weird. It feels kind of weird not talking about Donald Trump today. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and get to it. But before we do, we're going to go ahead and start off with a quick shout out to our sponsors. We're going to start with Hitman Industries, rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for you to purchase. If you've purchased an AR recently, chances are you already have one of their barrels, so why not get another one? Maybe you're looking to rebarrel an old rifle, or maybe you're just looking to do a whole brand new build. Just go to hitmanindustries.net and check them out today. Once again, rifle and pistol caliber barrels, any length you desire. Then we've got the California Republican Assembly working to help elect conservatives at all level of government, from school board all the way up to President of the United States. Ronald Reagan once referred to CRA as the conscience of the Republican Party. You can visit them online at cragop.org. That's cragop.org. If you want to be a part of California's future today, you got to join CRA. And then we've got Hog Holsters, the makers of the best concealed carry tactical holsters available on the market. Go to their website, check it out today. And hey, if you get a chance and you want to purchase, make sure you use the discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces, one word, just like it is right there. And you're going to get a discount on us. Check them out, hogholsters.com. That's HAWG holsters.com. Helping Americans wear guns. And then finally, if you're part of a group and you're looking to buy some gear, you need outdoor gear, you need tactical gear, you need hot weather gear because it's about that time of year. You need to go check out uscombatgear.com. They've got a huge selection. They've got competitive pricing, then the best customer service available on the market. Go to their website today, uscombatgear.com, where you can find all things tactical except the gun. All right, let's jump right into today's news, and we're going to start off here. Who authorized the Autopen? And that's the big question that's going on right now. I have a friend of mine who is a very active, a very liberal left wing Democrat. And he's like, well, why are we talking about this stuff? Who cares about what Biden knew and when he knew it and when he was sick or when he was. And I'm like, this is the point. The point is that Joe Biden made policy decisions, or decisions were made, bills were signed. And if he was not in his right mind, were other people making decisions for him? That's a legitimate question. And so it's been said that a number of pieces of legislation, a number of important documents have actually not been signed by the president, by the former president, but were signed by Autopen. Well, now we've got a story here as being reported by Breitbart. It says former Biden aide Neera Tanden does not know who ordered President's Autopen signatures. In other words, they don't know. They don't know who was making the decision because whoever ordered the Autopen, they are the ones who are responsible. They're the ones who in fact made the decision. Look at here, my I'm making sure that I'm getting enough. I apologize about that, folks. Seemed like I wasn't getting enough sound, but there we go. I think we got it. I think we're set now. Anyway, it says here, Neera Tanden, a former top aide for President Joe Biden, told Congress that she had authorization to direct Autopen signatures for the president, but does not know who gave the final order. Tanden served as director of Biden's Domestic Policy Council And she told Congress during a testimony on Tuesday that the president used an automatic signature tool allowing for aides to sign pardons, memos, and other official documents in the White House. Tandon said she did not know who authorized those signatures. Now, this is per Fox News. During Tandon's interview before Congress, which lasted more than 5 hours, she told lawmakers that in her role as staff secretary and senior advisor to the former president between 2021 and 2023, she was authorized to direct Autopen signatures on behalf of Biden. An oversight committee official told Fox News. Tandon, who reportedly said during her testimony that she had limited interactions with Biden in her role, according to sources familiar with her testimony, described an approval process that left her, at least partially, in the dark about who specifically was giving final approval on the decisions to use the automatic signature tool, even though she simultaneously insisted Biden was in charge. Tandon reportedly testified that to get approval for the use of Autopen signatures, she would send she would send decision memos to members of Biden's inner circle. However, she added that she was not aware of what actions or approvals took place between the time she sent the decision memo and the time she received it back with the necessary approval according to a source familiar. Uh, this is so basically on a bunch of these cases, she said, okay, well, is it okay to use the auto pen to sign these? And she sent that in to somebody. And it sat there, and then somebody, nobody knows who, sent it back, said, yes, go ahead and use it. But we don't know who that somebody is, or at least she does not know who that somebody is. How exactly does that work? How can you insist that the president is in charge, somebody who she admittedly didn't talk to? She didn't get the approval from him to use it. As far as she knows, all she knows was she got the approval. For all we know, Jill Biden signed it or authorized it. For all we know, the chief of staff did it. For all we know, members of the Politburo. You know, the Politburo, those five advisors, non-official advisors who basically were running Biden. Yeah, for all we know, they're the ones that did it. We don't know. So we don't know if he was okay with any of this. We don't even know if he knew what was going on. That is the reason why you have a president, right? That's the reason why you don't run it through a committee. Even if you say, well, he probably would have signed it anyway. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. He's supposed to know what he's supposed to sign. And he's supposed to be okay with it because what if he knows, as many of us did, that it's clearly unconstitutional? I doubt that he did. I doubt that he was cognitively all there. But he's the only person who has the authorization to do this. And yet, and I'll say it again, and yet, things got signed. Pardons got signed. We don't even know for a fact which documents were signed with the auto pens and which one weren't. I mean, I'm sure that is part of their investigation. I feel pretty confident that part of what they're going to be doing is analyzing documents that were signed, and because I wouldn't take any of the staff's word for it. I wouldn't. I wouldn't take their word for it. I'd analyze each and every document that he signed. Every official document that has some sort of weight or impact, I would take a look at. And I would determine whether or not he had actually signed it. And the ones that was deemed that were signed by Autopen, I would get the clear authorization. I would find out who authorized it. Who specifically? Who was the person who told you? Okay. All right, so you told her, you told them? Okay, who told you? And if that line of questioning does not end with President Joe Biden, if the person who authorized it is not Joe Biden, then Houston, we have a problem. because that is treason. That is now you have now hijacked the authority of the highest office in the land in order to implement policies that he did not approve. He may approve of the policy, but he didn't approve. So anyway, gonna be real interesting to see how this all pans out. But so far, ain't looking too good. Ain't looking too good at all. And once again, folks, and this is I don't want to put this. Some of the stuff and some of the stuff that's being investigated, you need to understand that some of it may not violate any law. Some of it may just be dirty and underhanded. Some of it may be unethical. But not everything that is unethical, not everything that is dirty and underhanded is illegal. And so then the question, or in some cases, even if it's illegal, can you prove it? What's that saying? It's not what you know, it's what you can prove. In a court of law, that's pretty much it. You got to, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. And so there may be, with all of these investigations, do not be surprised if there are very few criminal charges. People may get away with it. I hate to say this, but this is Washington, D.C. Is the reason why it's called a swamp. And there are red swamps and there are blue swamps. There are green swamp, red swamp. I'm sorry. There are red swamp monsters and there are blue swamp monsters. And I think that the best thing that can happen either way is for all of this stuff to be revealed. And hopefully the media, the mainstream media in particular, will talk about it. I haven't seen anybody other than Fox News and Breitbart reporting on the whole Autopen thing. I mean, Fox News is about as close to mainstream for a conservative as you can get. And they're, fair and balanced. That's what they like to say. So, yeah. So, anyway, that's going to be an interesting thing to see there. It's going to be a very interesting thing to see, once again, how that continues to go out. And I imagine that we're going to probably start to hear more stuff when we hit the election next year because, well, it's going to be an opportunity for Republicans to start to chime in about who's actually running our government and who's the real threat to democracy. I think if you have somebody who is basically signing bills, signing documents, and things like that they're not supposed to, taking away or pretending to be the president and doing that, if that is not a threat to democracy, I do not know what is. Of course, we all know part of the problem is to Democrats, democracy is basically what they want. And if they don't get what they want, well, then they claim that democracy is under attack. No, what you want is under attack. Democracy is doing just fine. All right, we got a couple of cases here that were ruled on by the Supreme Court, and I happen to be very, very happy with both of the outcomes. This first one here has to do with Planned Parenthood, and I think it's going to open the way for a number of states to do this. As reported by NBC News, Supreme Court rules for South Carolina in its bid to defund Planned Parenthood. The Supreme Court on Thursday ruled for South Carolina in its effort to defund Planned Parenthood, concluding that individual Medicaid patients cannot sue to enforce their right to pick a medical provider. The court held in a 6-3 ruling along ideological lines that the conservative justices in the majority that the federal law in question does not allow people who are enrolled in Medicaid program to file such claims against the state. The ruling, written by Justice Neil Gorsuch, is a boost to the state's effort to prevent Planned Parenthood from receiving funding through Medicaid, a federal program for low-income people that is administered by the states, because it prevents individual patients from enforcing their right to choose their preferred health care provider. The ruling could also give a boost to other Republican-led states that choose to follow suit. Um, so I like this ruling because this is it's not the important thing here is number one, yes, it says that you don't get to just pick you don't get to sue because you want to pick who your provider is, and they want to pick an abortion industry facility for healthcare. I'm sorry, but I do not consider abortion to be healthcare. You cannot take something that 100% of the time results in death of at least one person You don't get to call that healthcare. Number one. Number two, they are also the largest provider or one of the largest providers of sex change or sexual trait mutation drugs or transformation drugs to minors or to individuals. Period, but also to minors. It is they are not interested in family planning. They're interested in killing babies and obviously maiming children. So I think that any state that wants to make sure that they don't get any of their funds, look, if y'all like what Planned Parenthood does, give them money. But there are many of us who dislike what Planned Parenthood does, and I really do believe that they need to be stopped in those things. And our tax dollars, at the very least, shouldn't have to pay for it. So hats off to the Supreme Court for, although kind of in a, it's not an anti-abortion decision. It's not an anti-trans decision. It may have impacts on those seeking those medications or seeking abortions, but it does not. But it does not. It doesn't specifically speak to that. So anyway, there's that. And then we've got a gun rights case, and this is a good one because the Supreme Court is being very, very consistent with this, and that one of the reasons why they passed Bruin was because your fundamental human right to self-defense and your constitutional right to keep and bear arms doesn't end when you walk out of your house. For years, we had lived under the belief that you did not have a right to possess or own a firearm, to possess a firearm outside of your home for self-defense. Well, we now know that that is not true. Well, in this particular case, it has more to do with the city, and in that in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania, you have the right to possess a firearm outside of your home, except if you are in the city of Philadelphia. Well, Gun Owners of America put out a press release thanking the Supreme Court. It says here, Gun Owners of America is celebrating a major legal victory for the Second Amendment rights following a ruling by the Pennsylvania Superior Court. Oops. Okay, so I stand corrected. Superior Court. All right, I'm gonna have to fix that. Sorry about that, folks. So it's not SCOTUS. It's a Superior Court. And I don't know why when I was skimming over it, I didn't catch that. Okay, anyway, the Superior Court basically in the decision, they ruled that see, in a decision issued on June 23rd, 2025, the court vacated conviction of Ryada Sumter, who was arrested in Philadelphia for openly carrying a firearm without a license in an act uh, that is otherwise legal for individuals over 18 years of age throughout the rest of the Commonwealth. The court found that Pennsylvania's law, which uniquely applies only in Philadelphia, creates a discriminatory standard that unfairly burdens the rights of citizens living in the state's largest city. Unfortunately and confusingly, because the decision was an as applied ruling, the court's decision only clearly extends to Mr. Sumter. However, because the ruling hinges on straightforward facts, it provides extremely strong persuasive evidence that the law is unconstitutional in every other application as well. So anyway, that's a good ruling there in Philadelphia. Uh, the right to once again own or possess a firearm or to possess a firearm outside of your home is vitally important. You have a lot of blue cities in either swing states or in red states, or let's put it this way, in free states. Let's call them free states where you actually have a right to own or possess a firearm. You have a lot of municipalities, a lot of big blue cities that want to take away that right. They want to infringe on it within that city. And in this particular case, what they're saying is, no, you don't get to do that because it's a right for every other Pennsylvanian. Why don't the people in Philadelphia have a right to exercise their rights? And I support what they're doing. I support them standing up and fighting for that right. So hats off to the folks there, to the courts there in Philadelphia. You did a good thing. All right, and then we move on. This one, Mamdani. Mamdani is going to be the mayor. He's going to be the elected official that is just going to keep on giving. Brian Johnson is probably going to be replaced as the nation's worst mayor. Because this guy Mandami, I will just tell you, I just the fact that he is a socialist, and once again, all you have to do is listen to his policies. He says he's a Democrat socialist, democratic socialist. Uh, the proposals that he has are down are if not socialist, if not communist, at the very least they are socialist. And then he happens to be, he happens to be well, he happens to be a supporter of the Intifada. That's right. This is a chant that took place. This is an article over at Washington Free Beacon. Mamdani supporters celebrate win with cries of globalize the Intifada. Mamdani, in a recent interview, refused to condemn the phrase understood as a call to violence against Jews and Israelis, leading to a rebuke from the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum. Far left Mamdami supporters across the country celebrated their candidate's victory in the New York Democratic mayoral primary on Tuesday with cheers of globalize the Intifada. Mamdami made headlines over his refusal to condemn the phrase, a call for violence against Jews and Israelis, in a recent interview in a decision that led the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum to issue a statement sharply criticizing the candidate. While Mamdami has not publicly chanted the slogan, pro Hamas protesters on college campuses in the United States often do so during their demonstrations. I don't understand why it is so hard for people to understand. It's like, well, that's not what we mean by that. When we say or like the folks who said on CNN, well, yeah, just because they're saying death to America, they're also very nice. So, you kind of have the niceness, and they're kind of real happy and friendly when they say death to America. So, when you say, globalize the Intifada, which is being taken as kill the Jews, kill the Israelis, it's being taken that way. And you don't clarify, you don't say, yeah, maybe we shouldn't say that. You don't even say, look, no, that's not, we're not going to be. No, because that's what you mean. That's exactly what you mean. Or at the very least, you're not willing to condemn it. And here's the thing, you're not an activist, dude. You were an assemblyman, and now you're a mayor. You don't say stuff like that. You don't authorize stuff like that. You are part of the system. You don't get to authorize political violence. If you do, then you are talking about working outside the system, which means you're not part of this. You should not be part of the system anymore. Anyway, he is going to be a gift that keeps on giving. Once again, you have the current you have the current mayor there, Mr. Adams, Mayor Adams, who is running as an independent. You've got you got the founder of the Guardian Angels, who's running as a Republican. Um, I'm hoping that you know I'm not hoping. I'm just like, I think the biggest problem they're going to have is one of those two is going to have to drop out and throw their support behind the other. Otherwise, this guy's going to be mayor. I think that there are people who did not vote for him, who will not vote for him, and who may look to support Adams. I just don't know that there are enough of them for Adams to eventually win. I hope so. I could be wrong, but anyway, it's gonna be all bad there in New York. And hey, maybe they need to learn. Maybe they need to have a really, really, really bad mayor. Maybe they need to have a socialist, a Marxist, a jihadist, Islamist as mayor, and go from there. Maybe they need to have that sort of extreme in order to eventually turn to the right side. You know what I mean? Maybe that is exactly what needs to happen. They need some folks out there. Need some help out there. Definitely need some help. All right, folks. Well, that's now going to bring us to our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces. Get your hog holster today. This first one, or these first two, are going to be from our good friends over at the Babylon Bee. Fake news you can trust. Ayatollah proudly announces Iran has destroyed 14 bunker buster bombs with its nuclear facilities. That is looking on the bright side. That's what you call spin, political spin. All right. Dealing with the ruling that where the Supreme where the courts where the court in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals basically told Donald Trump, yeah, no, you have control over the National Guard. Also from the Babylon Bee, Democrats outraged after court rules commander in chief of armed forces can command the armed forces. Don't know why that was in question. And then finally, this one not from the Babylon Bee. Up top, you got a stack of cash, like a pallet of dollar bills. And underneath, you have some B 2 bombers. The top, it says Obama negotiating with Iran. In the bottom, you have Trump negotiating with Iran. Uh, I think I prefer Trump's negotiations with Iran because, well, let's just be honest, they were much more effective. Yeah, they were. All right, folks. Well, that brings us to the end of our program. But before we go, we're going to give one last shout out to our sponsors. We'll start with Hitman Industries, rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for you to purchase at hitmanindustries.net. We've got the California Republican Assembly, the conscience of the Republican Party. Check them out at cragop.org. And then you've got the best in concealed carry tactical holsters available on the market at hogholsters.com. That's helping Americans wear guns. And then finally, you can find all things tactical except the gun, uscombatgear.com. And with that, we're going to call it the end of today's program. We will be back tomorrow on Friday. Free for all Friday. We're going to have a good time. Hope you will join us. We will talk to you then.